like to spend a few minutes looking at the Torah that was just so beautifully chanted by HaYam. HaYam chose the portion beginning page 97 because it actually is the verse 8 is the verse that connects the reading to this morning's Torah reading, right? It says that we, the Jewish people, are Zera Avraham Ohavi, that we are descendants of Abraham, my friend. What is the word for friend in Hebrew? Chaver. What is the word used here? Ohavi. Yeah, my lover, right? So it is the word ohev translated friend is a very, very weak translation, in my opinion. Love and friendship can go hand in hand and often do, and there might be a certain kind of love. Perhaps maybe the translators felt that you could not take the idea of God and people being lovers, and so they protected you from this shocking idea. But it can be read as a noun or a verb. That is, you could read this as stating, Abraham is my lover, which is very provocative, or if you prefer, you could state, Abraham loves me. In either case, it is quite strong. We're painting a portrait here of the people Israel in the time of 2nd Isaiah. The people are like Abraham. But all of this flows from the beginning half of chapter 41. It doesn't come in isolation, where the prophet adds a universal vision into which we as Abraham and Sarah-like people fit. So I'd like to sort of go to chapter 41 in a few verses before to verse 5 and 6 and focus on them. If you look at verse 5, Ra'u iyim v'yira'u, the coastlands look on in fear, Kitzot ha'aretz yecharadu, the ends of the earth tremble. This is a very poetic way of stating that over all the known world, people in the time of 2nd Isaiah lived in fear. Is that true for us today? And if so, how? Do people in the world today have any fears, live in fear? Hard to see any relevance, a world in fear, when we have a pandemic going on, when we have demagogues all over the world who would thwart human rights, where common decency is becoming more and more uncommon, where we have already tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of climate refugees, and that we wonder if in 25 years, what kind of a planet, if any, there will be. There is enough fear going all over. We fear world economic collapse. We fear corporations controlling more and more governments without oversight. There is a lot of reason to fear. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, the founder of the Orthodox movement in the 19th century, yes, the Orthodox movement is quite modern. It taught that the coastlands and the world are afraid, he taught, because all the might and power in the world cannot guarantee peace and security. All the power and might, even in the right hands, according to Rabbi Hirsch, cannot guarantee peace and security. Rather, Rabbi Hirsch taught that the only way to ensure true peace and security is through the mutual support of people. In essence, Rabbi Hirsch is stating that I can be secure only if you are secure, and you can only be secure if I am secure. Do you agree with Rabbi Hirsch? I won't take it personally either way. I don't know him. He was 19th century, and I am not that old. So if you do agree that power and might do not guarantee peace and security, and to what degree do we need peace and security at all then? Why have our homes alarmed if Rabbi Hirsch is right? Any thoughts? I never ask the easy questions. They're a little more nuanced and layered. Fran?
Well, I just have another question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Oh, the Socratic method. Yeah, follow a question with a question.
So let's say if you are secure and I'm secure and Joe and everybody's secure, what does secure really mean? Okay, does it mean, the first thought that came to my head, if there was no food insecurity and no homelessness,
Mm-hmm.
would that be secure? But then the psychological part of my brain said, but there still would be illness, there would still be mental health issues. So it depends what your definition of secure.
Well, we'd probably have a lot less mental health worries if a lot of the other stuff was taken care of. But besides that, I think that we're talking, we're right. We have here the coastlands and the ends of the earth. So to what degree is the prophet talking about physical security, and to what degree is the prophet talking about spiritual security or emotional security? It could be any or all of those. Did I see a hand over here? Phil, Bavakasha.
I was just secure within oneself,
Mm-hmm.
that you're okay with who you are of your life. And I think that once we're secure within ourselves in a positive way, then we can pass that security on to those amongst us.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's beautiful, right? That we maybe can't control everything that goes on in the coastlands and from the ends of the earth. The one thing we have control, and Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, which was part of our book group, a fantastic read, it was my third or fourth time reading it, said that people can take from you everything, all of freedoms and everything. The one thing they can't take away from you is your choice on how to respond and react. So if we can find a way, as Phil, you so beautifully stated, to find our inner security and to be good with whatever hand we're dealt with, even by powers beyond our control and governments and fiendish corporations beyond our control, maybe we still do have security, and maybe it does have to start with us. Alma, I thought I saw your hand.
Food, water, and a home.
Beautifully stated. Food, water, and a home. And that's really, really the basic essentials. And of course, we know that there are millions and millions and millions of people who don't have those things, or the kind of shelter or the kind of water they have is scarce and insecure or even contaminated, right? We still haven't cleaned up Flint, right? From my state of Michigan, from that horrible situation there. So food, water, shelter. Beautifully stated, Alma. Oh, Mayan, I didn't see your hand.
I think, like many cases in the Tanakh, this is relevant not just for what it says, but for what it doesn't say. Coastlands look on in fear. Ends of the earth tremble. So we have the coastlands and the ends of the earth, but what do they have in common? They are at the edge. What about everybody in the middle, on the mainland, as we say, in the heartland? Are they trembling? Are they looking on in fear? We don't know. They might be a lot more secure. And when you are secure, it is very hard to remember the rest of the community, which may not be as secure. So for all that are reading this, they might be in the heartland. They may be okay. And it's a reminder, don't forget about those on the coastland.
That's beautiful. And not only that, but what happens if the coastlands disappear? And what happens if the ends of the earth disappear so the ends of earth or the coast actually changes, right? And with climate change happening, there is a concern that some of the land masses may start disappearing more and more, creating less and less space for more and more people to be. And they already are. So thank you for that. That was beautiful. I'm sorry. What, Elma? Yeah. So please sponsor the congregation's next trip to Mars. That would be so welcome and so cool. I want to go there because to verse 6, because verse 6 seems to offer perhaps a solution to the problem of security, peace, and well-being for all throughout the world. It states, Ish et re'ehu yazoru. Each one helps the other. Ulachiv yomar chazak. Saying to the next person, take courage, remain strong, be solid. This is really a logical conclusion, I think, in a sense, to what you were saying, Phil. But here it seems that that the prophet and the commentators are promoting that if we are actually going to find security, it will start not only within ourselves, but at the same time, we'll be reaching out to others. A good person is a person who helps all people, not just some people, according to this. There should be no one outside of our scope of potential uplift and motivation towards goodness and decency. How would you define altruism? Is anything altruistic, as the prophet is encouraging?
At the giving, I'm looking for a return.
Beautiful. The giving of yourself without looking for rewards or return. How wonderful. Is that possible?
Yes.
Who said yes? I thought I heard a yes. Okay. Phil, why do you say yes? And then I'm going to get to Rachel in a minute because I saw a shake. Yes.
Because I do that.
And you do that. And I know, Phil, that you drive people and take care of people, and your calendar is really replete with masim tovim, with good deeds that you're doing all day long, and that you are a follower of the prophet Isaiah here. But Rachel, I think I saw that you were concerned that maybe altruism is not entirely altruistic. Mm-hmm.
So I just don't see that because normally benefit for us as well.
Right, including the benefit, by the way, Phil, of our feeling more secure, right? Because the more we have a large circle of friends, a large circle of people that we have helped and love us and we love and help us, etc., the larger that circle tends to be, the more secure we do feel. So even if we're not from the mindset, oh, I'm going to do something nice for Phil because then she'll do something nice for me, just from the altruistic standpoint in my intention of doing it, it will provide a benefit for me that I maybe didn't know or didn't expect, right? And unintended. And maybe that's okay. That is not necessarily a bad thing, right? If people draw near to each other, there will be a benefit. If everyone is encouraging, motivating, if I motivate everyone here, there's a benefit to me as well. I want to see the people I love bloom, right? And I tend to bloom better when all the flowers around me are the most healthy and the strongest they can be. So even though that may not be my starting place, the fact is there could be a redounding benefit to the world if there was more of the prophets, Ishad Rehu Ya Azoru. culture, we sometimes hear, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. That's not necessarily bad. That can actually be a good thing. Not if it's illegal. I'm not talking about, stealing or something, abetting a crime. I'm talking about the good thing where I'll scratch your back, you massage my back, I'll massage yours, and we both get a good massage. So in what ways do we here at CAH do the prophet's urging of helping each other and encouraging one another? Can anybody give me an example, not a theoretical, an example of where we have tried to encourage or help each other? Fran.
I think when the pandemic hit and you had the idea of making sure people felt connected and then reached out to other people to help you get that goal, that process in, so that during the pandemic, at least 5 days a week, all for 15, 18 months, people were connected. That it felt, those of us that are in the helping field or educators do it because we want other people to feel what we feel about Judaism or whatever and to feel okay. But we also empowered other people to help other people. And it really was a mitzvah, that a mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. And I think at CAH, we should feel very proud of what we set out to do for the pandemic and what occurred. I think it was really supporting each other.
Well, beautifully said, Fran. I wasn't necessarily thinking of that, but yes, we changed our schedule. Instead of having every other week, every weekend we had a Shabbat service either Friday or Saturday, so that we could, those who are Shabbat goers could feel connected, not just every twice a month, but 4 or 5 times a month. We had classes and programs and sing-alongs and all kinds of things throughout to keep us together. So that was great, and you created the educational schedule, Yasher Koach, for that. So thank you. Anybody else have Esther, is that your hand up?
Yeah. This is one that has been ongoing for as long as I've been. Time for Sukkot. Have a sukkah. Or invite everyone to come over to their sukkah.
Yeah, absolutely. Mea Chuz, what a wonderful mitzvah it is. Of course, it didn't happen with the pandemic in a more public way. But yeah, absolutely. That is fantastic. Hopefully the pandemic will be behind us for next year. Alavai, bli neder, but alavai. But that, what a fantastic mitzvah. And Raz and Mort have been gracious hosts in doing that. Yes, Phil?
Piggyback.
More cattle back, and this is a kosher synagogue.
On that, when Brenda has us over for Tashlich.
Yes.
Just everybody reaching out and not expecting something in return. Reaching out, here I am, please tell yourself to me.
Yeah, lovely. Pre-pandemic, we had Tashlich at Brenda's home. She and Arnie opened their home so graciously and warmly to us. And we had actually our Rosh Hashanah luncheon there. We did not do that last year or this year because of the pandemic. But in any event, we just had 3 great examples of of things that we have done. That is not an exhaustive list by any means. That's all we have time for right now. And second Isaiah is when we resort to goodness and kindness, to helping and encouraging one another, that we might feel in the moment that you just did a small thing. But second Isaiah is telling us of the cosmic reverberations of that act. That your act of kindness, that you reached out to somebody, you called somebody when they had an accident, you reached out to somebody in the hospital, you visited somebody, you gave somebody a ride to shul, that reaches the coastlands and the ends of the earth with all of its reverberations. And that when we think of a better world and the deeds that we do, Like Second Isaiah says in the Haftorah that Mayan beautifully read, these are the kinds of things that can thresh mountains to dust and make hills like a chaff, which the wind carries them off. But let us hope that the words and our deeds help support a world not of power, but of security, not of imposition, but of sharing, not of angling for position for ourselves, but of opening up the space to include others, not of closed communities and guarded thoughts, but of shared spaces and loving hearts. May Second Isaiah's vision of all persons and peoples drawing near to one another, helping each other, and offering one another the encouragement to move forward come to fruition during these difficult times of pandemic and corporate power and greed and incivility. And may we at least see the beginnings of this change and movement in our own time and in our own country. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Amen.